Good afternoon, Frederick. Welcome back to the Blaine Young Show. And we are going to interview our last candidate for alderman. And we have interviewed all the candidates for mayor. Welcome into the studio, Amanda Haddaway. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm great, Blaine. Thanks for having me in.
No problem. Republican candidate for alderman. And you're it. You're the last one. Tomorrow's the big day.
I am, and I'm very excited about the primary election.
For those that are tuning in that may not have read anything about you yet or seen anything, tell us who Amanda Haddaway is.
Absolutely. Well, before I start off, I want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How'd you hear about that?
The staff upstairs put me up to it.
Oh, that's terrible. Yes, I try to keep it a secret for those that would care. Yesterday was my birthday. So we went to the Isaac Walton League with the kids to shoot guns. They were part of the youth program, and then we went to the Owls Club picnic. That was my big birthday bash. So thank you very much, Matt.
No problem. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a native of both Frederick City and Frederick County. I grew up here, and I'm currently the Director of Human Resources and Marketing for a construction equipment dealership here in the city. I have a bachelor's degree from James Madison University in Public Relations and a master's degree in Educational Technology Leadership from George Washington University. I'm already an active part of the community. I do regular volunteer work with the Downtown Partnership, particularly their Alive at 5 series of events. I'm also currently participating in the Frederick Police Department's Citizen Academy to learn more about the operations and day-to-day work of our police department. My husband and I live in Dearborn, and he is a Baltimore County police officer.
Okay. And so what made you, Amanda, say I want to serve on the Board of Aldermen or run for alderman? Was there a particular issue, or was it, you just said, hey, that's something that I'd like to do?
Well, it's really a culmination of events. I am a firm believer in you don't get a right to complain unless you're willing to do something about it. So okay. I decided to run because I want to do something about it. I really think that we need to change the focus from one part of town to the whole city. What I'm finding is, as I'm out talking to people in different neighborhoods, there are a lot of people who really feel like they have been pushed aside or forgotten. And we have some pretty serious issues in some of our neighborhoods, particularly those on the West End. And really, everyone should have a fair shot at public safety and public works. And we need to get to that idea of Frederick City as a whole.
So what were was that biggest complaint coming from those that lived on the West End? In terms of that they didn't feel like they were part of the city or they've been ignored?
They do feel like they've been ignored, and I can't speak for all the homeowners in that part of town, but some of the things that I've been hearing is that they're really worried about the crime in their neighborhoods. Also, there's an issue with overcrowding in some of the properties. We unfortunately have some negligent property managers and landlords, and those issues have just continued to exacerbate over time, and we need to step in and do something and help those people out, because many of those folks actually don't live in an area that has a homeowners association. So they are solely relying on city government to protect them.
All right. What are some of the issues, if elected, that you will champion or you're going to try to put forth, or what issues are you going to try to turn around and or change?
Sure. I think the budget is going to be the biggest issue that we have to face.
It'll be huge.
What's happening now is we're having to make some really tough decisions on where we can cut money. And the first place to look is on spending. I believe that spending has gotten out of control. And one example that comes to mind is the $2 million that was given to the Keys Stadium to make some improvements there. Now, some of them were justified in order to get it in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, but some of that money was used for a video scoreboard. And in this time and in this economy, I'm not sure that that was a judicious use of our taxpayer money. Furthermore, there were cuts to the police department budget. Again, in a bad economy, crime generally goes up, particularly crimes like robbery and theft. And it's not a time, in my opinion, to be cutting the police department's budget. Furthermore, the botched buyout program, other guests on your show have spoken about it ad nauseum, but I guess my perspective on it is a little bit different because I work in human resources. I have seen buyout programs work effectively in corporate America. However, the way that it was executed in our city was totally not right. Essentially, 76 people were offered the buyout, and 67 of those people took advantage of the offer. Of those 67, 24 have been hired back, and they've all been hired back full-time, meaning that they still get benefits and a full salary. What should have happened is there should have been a provision written in there and enforced that they would actually retire for a set amount of time. Furthermore, there were people who took the buyout who had documented performance problems, and I don't believe that those people should have been eligible. Also, I don't believe that people who were in mission-critical positions should have been eligible either, because the city knew that they would have to rehire either that person or someone with a similar skill set.
Talking with Amanda Haddaway, candidate for alderman in the Republican Party. Tomorrow is Election Day, primary election day. So if you're Democrat or Republican, make sure that you vote and you know where you're voting, as the polling places have changed. If you're voting, if you voted last time at a school, you will not be voting at a school. There's no voting at the schools. So make sure you know where your voting location is. It should be on your new voter registration card. And if not, you need to check the papers, the city website, multiple resources you can go to, and or check in at City Hall via calling down there. Amanda, do you have a website?
I sure do. The address is www.voteforamanda.com.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and be back with more. Amanda Amanda, you know, some of the things that have been hot button in this election cycle, the northern annexations. Mm-hmm. From what you could digest from going to the meetings and consume from the press, what was kind of your stance on those northern annexations? Well,
I actually attended the board meeting and was there until the wee hours. It actually didn't end till after midnight that night. But, you know, I don't have really any issues with the Summers annexation, and I don't have too many issues with the Thatcher annexation. But I do have some concerns with the Crumland annexation, and most of those deal with public safety. Our roads are already taxed by the amount of people that are driving on them now. Just last week, we had a near-fatal accident at 15 and Hayward Road.
While they were voting on it.
Exactly, while they were voting on it. Yeah. Absolutely, it was that same day. And that's not the first accident, and unfortunately, it won't be the last. There are a lot of traffic concerns, and if you're going to put several hundred houses on that property, you're only increasing the number of car trips that go on that road daily. So I was a little disappointed that the language in the annexation agreement wasn't more specific to require the developer to fund or find funding for the entire interchange. Unfortunately, our government sometimes has selective memory, and I hope that doesn't happen 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road when we actually go to develop that property.
Another issue was the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission. Of course, the Volt restaurant catapulted that issue.
Yes.
And a lot of people are following Volt right now on Bravo with Top Chef. They're
Absolutely.
Bringing, you know, Volt has brought a tremendous amount of notoriety, national notoriety to Frederick, as people apparently from all over are coming here to eat at Volt since they're getting all the exposure on Bravo. And generally, the HPC, for the most part, doesn't have a lot of issues, but it seems like when they pick an issue, they pick it, and most people scratch their head and said, where was the common sense? Right. How do you feel about HPC reform?
Well, I think that the HPC serves a purpose in our community. Part of the reason that a lot of people like Frederick and enjoy visiting and living here is its charm, and we can't get away from that. However, I believe that there does need to be some reform of the HPC. You talked about common sense, and I think that really hits the nail on the head. We need to make sure that people who live in the historic district understand the guidelines. And what I'm hearing by being a part and attending the HPC reform group that Hilda Staples, the co-owner of Volt, has started, is that people have a high level of confusion. And again, this might be an issue that is most easily resolved with education on the part of the Historic Preservation Commission, but there clearly needs to be some changes. Also, in the case of Volt, I question what we're preserving, because if you actually go back to the history of that building, prior to it being the professional building, it was actually a residence that two sisters lived in.
Absolutely.